Have you ever met someone who made your heart race but left you wondering if you had the courage to take a step forward? I'm Ryan, just a regular barista in Sacramento. My life was nothing special until one Saturday morning at a laundromat, when her glance made me forget how to hold my coffee cup. Who was she, and could a guy like me ever step into her world? Stick around for this story, because it's not just a meeting, it's the start of an unexpected journey. I'm Ryan, 25, living in Sacramento, working full-time as a barista at a small coffee shop on 21st Street. It's not a glamorous job and it doesn't pay much, but I love it. I enjoy chatting with customers, tossing out a few jokes to make them smile. At night I pick up delivery gigs to cover rent. I'm not rich, not famous, not anything to write home about, but I'm good at breaking the ice. And I always try to put people at ease. It was a typical Saturday morning, crisp with that Sacramento breeze carrying the scent of cut grass from a nearby park. My sister, Sarah, dragged me along to a laundromat in Midtown. Not because she couldn't handle it herself, but because she hates the vibe of sitting alone with the hum of washing machines and the overpowering smell of detergent. I tagged along, grabbed a black coffee from my usual spot, and leaned against the wall outside, scrolling through my phone while waiting for her. The laundromat was small, with faded yellow walls and a few mismatched plastic chairs scattered out front. The machines rumbled inside, mixing with the sound of cars passing by. I was sipping my coffee when she appeared. A woman stepped out of a black SUV parked nearby, holding two big laundry bags. She wore black leggings, a loose gray sweater, her hair in a messy bun, no makeup, but her eyes, man, those eyes. Sharp, confident, like she knew exactly where she was going and didn't need anyone's help. I straightened up without thinking, like some invisible force pulled me. She walked toward the door, bags weighing her down. Before I knew it, I stepped forward and held the glass door open. It squeaked as I propped it. She glanced at me, just a quick look, and nodded. "Thanks," she said, her voice low, steady, but distant, like I was just some laundromat employee. I stood there, still holding the door, feeling a little dumb. She walked past, and a faint whiff of her perfume, clean, slightly spicy, hit me, making me pause. I didn't plan to do anything, honestly, but something about her made me want to say more. "Hey, I'm holding the door like this, any chance for a tip?" I blurted out, flashing a half-joking smile. She stopped, turned her head, and looked at me. No smile, no frown, just a spark in her eyes, like she was deciding if I was worth responding to. "You're funny," she said, her tone flat, "but I'm probably not the type you think I am." Her words were like a puzzle. I wasn't trying to flirt, not exactly, but her response made me curious. She wasn't like the regulars at the coffee shop, the ones who laugh easily and chat without hesitation. She had a guard up, like she was standing behind an invisible wall. I wanted to know more, even just a little. I stepped inside, pretending to check if Sarah needed help. The laundromat's fluorescent lights flickered, and the smell of detergent mixed with the hum of spinning machines. Sarah was loading clothes, muttering about forgetting fabric softener. I glanced through the glass door and saw the woman sitting on a plastic chair outside, scrolling her phone. She didn't look at me, but she didn't leave either. I wondered, what's she thinking? I walked back out, sitting a few chairs away to give her space. The air was quiet, just the distant sound of traffic and the machine's drone. I took a breath and tried my luck. "You live around here?" I asked, keeping my tone casual, like it was no big deal. She looked up, tilting her head slightly, as if weighing whether to answer. "Why do you want to know?" she replied, not cold but sharp enough to make me pause. I shrugged, trying to keep things light. "Just curious. Midtown, East Sac, or somewhere else?" She raised an eyebrow, a small gesture that told me she was sizing me up. "Why's it matter?" She shot back. I grinned, feeling like I was playing chess with a pro. "Just making conversation," I said. "No ulterior motives." She studied me for a moment, like she was searching for something in my eyes. Then she said, her voice soft but pointed, "You're persistent." "Not sure if that's a good thing." I laughed, couldn't help it. "That's the coldest thing I've heard all week," I said. For the first time, I saw the corner of her mouth twitch, a smile so small I almost thought I imagined it. "I'm Ryan, by the way," I said, sticking out my hand on instinct. She looked at my hand, then back at me, not taking it. "Emily," she said, just that, then went back to her phone. I sat there, unsure if I was annoying her or if she just wasn't ready to open up, but she didn't get up and leave. That was something. When her machine beeped, she stood, grabbed her bags, and looked at me for the first time without that guarded edge. "You're not in my league," she said, her tone matter of fact, like she was stating the weather. Then, something crazy happened. She reached into her bag, pulled out a plain white business card, scribbled a number on the back, and handed it to me. "No smile, no wink. If you want, text me. No promises." She turned and walked out, leaving me standing there, holding the card, stunned. I watched her disappear around the corner, sunlight catching her messy bun. My heart was racing, not from excitement, but from not knowing if I'd been rejected, accepted, or challenged. The card in my hand felt light as a feather, but heavy as an unspoken promise. I knew I'd text her, but right then, Standing amid the laundromat's noise and the smell of cold coffee, I felt something start something I couldn't name. I stood there, Emily's card still in my hand, light as air but weighing on my mind. Sunlight streamed through the laundromat's glass door, hitting the cracked concrete floor. The machines kept humming, but all I could hear was her voice. "You're not in my league." Cold words, yet the way she gave me her number felt like a door cracked open. I didn't know whether to step forward or stay put. The next day I texted her. My fingers hovered over the screen, trying to find something casual, not too much. "Hey, it's Ryan from the laundromat. Hope your clothes made it home safe." I hit send and stared at the screen waiting. No typing bubbles, no scene notification, just silence. I slipped the phone into my pocket, telling myself not to overthink it. But during my shift at the coffee shop, amid the whir of the grinder and the smell of roasted beans, I kept checking my phone. Nothing. The day after, still no reply. I started wondering if Emily even meant for me to text. Maybe she gave me her number just to get out of the conversation, a polite way to say no. But then I thought, if she didn't want me to reach out, she wouldn't have written it down. I decided to try again, a little bolder this time. "If I was in your league, would I get a reply?" I sent it with a smiley face, hoping to lighten the mood. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. One word. Busy. No period, no emotion, no a hint of what to do next. I stared at the word, feeling like I'd been doused with cold water. Busy. That's it. I wanted to text back, to ask what she was busy with or if she just didn't want to talk. But I held off. I didn't want to be the guy she warned about. You're persistent. Not sure if that's a good thing. I went back to work, pouring coffee, chatting with regulars, trying not to let my mind drift to Emily. But every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped, hoping it was her. It wasn't. Just texts from Sarah or delivery app notifications. 3 days passed and I decided to let it go. Maybe she wasn't interested. Maybe I'd misread the signs. I put my phone aside, vowing not to text again. Then, a week later, on a Tuesday night, I was sprawled on my couch, half watching a basketball game on TV when my phone lit up. "Emily, you're doing deliveries tonight?" I sat up, rereading the text, not believing my eyes. She texted back after a week of silence, and it was about a delivery. I laughed to myself, not sure how to feel. Part of me wanted to say no, to say I wasn't her personal driver, but another part bigger wanted to know what she was thinking. "Not on the clock tonight, but if you need a ride, I can help." "Where to?" I replied, keeping it light. She sent an address, a fancy condo building in Midtown. I'd passed it 100 times but never entered. The place was tall, all glass and sleek lines, with a marble-paved entrance. I knew right away this wasn't the kind of place a guy like me belonged. It said a lot about Emily I hadn't considered. I pulled up to the building, parking out front. Emily stepped out, dressed in a sharp black outfit, hair neatly tied back, no makeup but still striking. She didn't smile, just nodded and walked around to the passenger side like I was her Uber driver. I opened the door and she slid in, that familiar, clean, spicy perfume filling the car. I tried to make conversation. "So, big emergency? Meeting the governor or something?" I joked, hoping for a laugh. She didn't look at me. "Work meeting downtown," she said, her voice flat. "Not a favor. I'll Venmo you." I shook my head, smiling. "No need. Consider it a friend thing." She glanced over, her eyes cool. "That's not how I do things. I don't take favors." I nodded, not pushing it, and drove. The car was quiet, just the hum of the engine between us. But every time I glanced over, she was staring out the window, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She didn't want to talk. 5 minutes in, I couldn't take it. "Why'd you text me?" I asked, my voice soft but direct. She turned, her eyes narrowing slightly. "I needed a ride fast. You were close." Her answer was so practical it stung. I gave a dry laugh. "You know, not everyone texts busy and ghosts for a week." She didn't respond right away. Then she said, her voice low, "You think I'm the type to explain myself?" I shook my head, not wanting to push too far. "No, just thought you had a reason." She looked out the window again, maybe, and that was it. When I pulled up to her meeting spot, she got out. "No thank you, just a quick glance back." "Don't expect anything from me," she said, like a warning. Then she disappeared into the building, leaving me in the car, wondering what I'd just done. I drove home, my head a mess. Emily wasn't like anyone I'd ever met. She didn't need me, didn't want me, but she still texted, still let me into her world, even if it was just a sliver. I didn't know if I was being used or given a chance, but something about her, those eyes, that voice, the way she kept her distance made it impossible to walk away. A few weeks later, she texted again, late at night. "You out? Need a ride from a dinner?" I'd just finished a delivery shift, exhausted, ready to crash, but I said yes. When I pulled up, she stepped out in a long black dress, hair down, looking so stunning I forgot how to say hi. She slid into the car, muttered thanks, and went quiet. I tried to lighten the mood. "You know, at this rate, I'm gonna think I'm your personal chauffeur." She looked at me, her expression unchanging. "You keep saying yes." I gripped the steering wheel. "Maybe I shouldn't." She didn't blink. "Then don't." Her words cut, not because they were harsh, but because they were honest, like she was used to people walking away. I drove her home, and she got out without a word. I watched her disappear into a building, knowing I needed to stop, not out of anger, but because I didn't want to be the guy who only showed up when she needed something. I deleted her number. Not out of spite, but to protect myself. Deep down, though, I knew I wasn't really letting go. Emily had left a mark, and I wasn't sure I could shake it. 3 weeks passed since I last saw Emily. 3 weeks of no texts, no calls, nothing. I'd deleted her number, but I couldn't delete her from my mind. Life went back to normal. Mornings at the coffee shop, the smell of roasted beans, the whir of the grinder. Nights delivering, cruising through Midtown's glowing streets. I tried not to think about her, but every time I passed her condo building, my chest tightened. I told myself, move on, Ryan. She doesn't need you. Then, one Tuesday evening at 8:15 Kelvin, during a break at the coffee shop, my phone buzzed. I glanced at it, and my heart stopped. Emily, did I do something to make you mad? I read it over and over, not believing my eyes. No greeting, no small talk, just classic Emily, straight to the point, throwing me off balance. I sat down on a plastic chair behind the counter, the neon lights of the shop flickering on the glass. Soft jazz played from the speakers, but all I could hear was my pulse. I typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I sent, not mad. Just figured you didn't want anything from me except a ride. I hit send, feeling like I'd tossed a stone into a lake, waiting for ripples. The typing bubbles appeared, then vanished. 5 minutes later, she replied, not fair. I took a deep breath, my fingers flying over the keyboard. Not fair to act like I matter when I don't. I sent it, then set the phone down, feeling like I'd kicked open a locked door. My shift ended in a haze. I drove home, the street lights blurring past like streaks of light. I thought that was it, that Emily wouldn't text again. But late that night, as I lay in bed with the lights off, my phone buzzed. Emily, can we talk? I sat up, reading the text in the faint glow of the screen. Before I could reply, another text came the next morning. I was wrong. I pushed you away because I thought it'd be easier. I stared at the words, feeling like I was solving a puzzle. Emily, the queen of keeping her distance, was admitting she was wrong. I replied simply, coffee, same shop, 6 p.m. She texted back instantly, okay. I stared at the text, unsure what I was expecting, but I knew I wanted to see her, if only to understand why. I got to the coffee shop early, snagging a small table on the patio where the streetlights mixed with the shop's warm glow. The smell of roasted coffee hung in the air, blending with the sound of distant traffic and chatter from inside. I sipped a black coffee, trying to stay calm. My heart raced when I saw Emily walking up. She wore jeans, a simple white top, hair down, no makeup. She looked real, softer than the confident woman at the laundromat or in those car rides. She sat across from me, her hands on the table, her eyes scanning me like she was looking for signs of anger. I waited, not wanting to break the moment. She took a breath and started, no preamble. I've been through some stuff. Her voice was steady, but there was a slight tremble, like she was walking a tightrope. My last relationship ended badly. Court, manipulation, lies, the whole mess. I nodded gently. I'm sorry. She shook her head quickly. I don't need pity. She paused, looking at her hands, her nails short and unpainted. Then, she continued, her voice low. When I said don't expect anything from me, I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just protecting myself. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. This was the first time I'd seen Emily open up, even a little. She glanced at the street, where a few pedestrians passed under the lights. I thought if I kept you at a distance, it'd be safer. I thought you'd get bored, leave. Most people do. She looked back at me, her guard down. But you stopped, and that made me realize. I sipped my coffee, keeping my tone steady. Realize what? She smiled, a small, almost shy smile, that you weren't trying to take anything from me. You were just there. And that scared me. I looked at her, seeing a different Emily, not the confident, cool woman from the laundromat, but someone trying to find herself again. The space between us felt lighter. The jazz inside the shop shifted to a slow saxophone melody, floating through the air. I felt a shift, not huge, but like a door creaking open. So what now? I asked, my voice soft. She looked at me, her eyes softening. More coffee. Maybe lunch, talking, no ghosting for 3 weeks. I laughed, couldn't help it. You sure didn't you say I wasn't in your league? She raised an eyebrow, a real smile breaking through. I still think that, but maybe I don't care anymore. I leaned back, feeling like I'd won a game I didn't know I was playing all right. I'll stop pretending I'm not a little scared of you. She laughed, a real, full laugh. The first I'd heard from her. Her eyes lit up, softer, like the last wall had crumbled. We sat there until the sky turned orange, talking about small things at the coffee shop, weird customers, her dog. Nothing big, no pressure. Just two people, really talking for the first time. When she got up to leave, she paused, looking at me. I'll text you tomorrow, she said, her voice certain. For real. I nodded, believing her this time. She walked away, not rushing, not looking back. I sat there, holding my cold coffee, feeling like I'd just stepped onto a new path. Not love, not romance, but a beginning, a chance to know each other. No hurry. Asterisk, that coffee shop meeting felt like opening a new door, not the kind that leads straight to a Hollywood romance, but to a winding path where Emily and I were both walking carefully. I started to see that Emily wasn't someone who opened up easily, but she was trying, and so was I. We texted more regularly, not constant, but steady, like checking if a plant needs water. Short texts, sometimes just random pics like a weird latte art from a coworker or a sunset from her office window. I liked how she was slowly letting me in, one step at a time, like peeling back layers she'd built up over years. One Friday evening, Emily texted me, "You free? Let's grab dinner." I was at home, fresh from a shower, hair still wet, wearing an old tee. I stared at the text, caught off guard. This was the first time she'd asked me out, not for a ride or a favor. She sent the address of a place called the Rustic Table, a spot I'd heard of but never been to. Not some fancy linen tablecloth joint, but a cozy place with wooden tables, craft beers, and polished silverware. Definitely not my usual burger and fries hangout with my barista paycheck. I got there early, standing under the neon sign's soft glow, a little nervous. I wore a gray button-up and black pants, my best outfit. Emily showed up, looking effortlessly stunning. Black dress, hair in soft waves, no jewelry. She smiled when she saw me. A small one, but enough to ease my nerves. "Look at you," she said, a teasing edge in her voice. I glanced down at myself, grinning sheepishly. This is me trying my hardest. She tilted her head, her eyes sparkling. Not bad. A compliment from Emily, even a small one. The glow of small candles flickering on the wood. Acoustic music played softly, mixing with the hum of nearby tables. The smell of herbs from the food filled the air, cozy and warm. Emily asked about my family, my job at the coffee shop. I told her dumb stories, like the time a raccoon got into the shop's dumpster and chased a customer to the door. She laughed, a real laugh, no holding back. For the first time, she didn't seem to be looking for an exit in the conversation. Then she opened up, bit by bit. "I used to go to therapy," she said, twirling the rim of her wine glass, her eyes on the table. I raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Used to," she nodded. "Yeah, for a while. After everything." She didn't name her ex, but I got it. No need to spell it out. She continued, her voice low. "I thought I needed to build an untouchable version of myself. Strong, independent, cold if I had to be. And I thought it worked. Until," she looked at me, her eyes sharper, "until you showed up and messed it all up." I smiled, keeping my tone light. "Messed what up?" She paused, like she was choosing her words. "You didn't demand anything from me. Didn't push me into a corner that made it hard to keep the wall up." I nodded. "I get it." She looked out the window, the streetlights reflecting in her eyes. "That's what scared me." Dinner passed slowly, comfortably. We talked about little things, music, food, long workdays. When we stepped outside, the night air was cool, Midtown quiet with a few twinkling lights. We stood by my car, not saying much. Then she spoke up. "You don't have to drive me home." I shook my head. "I want to, not out of obligation, but because I want to." She nodded, slid into the passenger seat. No drama, no tension. The drive to her place was filled with soft radio music. She hummed along to an old song, her fingers tapping the armrest. I wasn't sure if this was a date, but for the first time I didn't care about labels. When I pulled up to her building, she didn't get out right away. She sat there staring ahead. "Want to come up?" Her voice was soft, not flirty, just genuine. I thought for a second, not because of anything big, but because I wanted to take it at the right pace. "I'll pass tonight," I said. "I like where this is going. Don't want to rush it." I worried she'd take it wrong, but her eyes softened, like I'd lifted a weight off her. "Yeah, good. That's good." She got out, paused, and looked back. "You surprised me, Ryan." I shrugged, smiling. "You surprised me, Emily." She gave a small smile, then shut the door gently. I watched her walk into her building. No rush, no glance back. This time, I didn't need her to look back. We were moving in the same direction, slow but steady. I drove home feeling light, like I'd found a puzzle piece I didn't know I was looking for. After that night at the Rustic Table, things between Emily and me found a new rhythm. Not the explosive love you see in movies, but like two people walking side by side, learning to match steps. We texted every day, not out of obligation, but because we wanted to. Small texts, like a pic of a weird coffee order or a sunset from her office window. I loved how she was letting me in, little by little, like unwrapping layers she'd built up for years. One Thursday evening, around 7 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Emily, you free? Wanna come over? Not urgent. Just want company." I froze, staring at the text, feeling like I'd been handed a small gift. This was the first time she'd asked me over without needing something specific. I replied instantly, already grabbing my keys, on my way. When I got there, Emily opened the door, barefoot, in leggings and an oversized sweater, her hair damp from a shower. She looked tired, not exhausted, but the kind of tired from a long week. The faint smell of soap from her mixed with the warm air of her apartment. I don't cook, she said, stepping aside to let me in. Wasn't expecting you to, I said, smiling. A pizza box sat on the coffee table, next to a TV paused on a movie. Not a romantic date, just Emily, as real as it gets. We sat on her couch, her feet tucked up, her shoulder gradually leaning into me. Her hand brushed mine, and we stayed like that, no holding hands, no kissing, just sitting there, watching the movie. The TV's soft soundtrack mixed with her steady breathing. 2 hours passed and somehow, without words or moves, it felt peaceful. I felt her, and she felt me. In that moment, I knew we'd built something nameless, labelless, but real. Over time, our connection grew quietly. No social media posts, no big declarations. We didn't need that. I met Max, her scruffy dog, who loved to sprawl on the couch. Max took to me right away, which surprised Emily. He doesn't like strangers, she said, her eyes lighting up as Max nuzzled my leg. Sarah met Emily once at the coffee shop. Later she texted me, she's tough but real. I like her. Emily still had moments where she pulled back. She'd cancel plans last-minute texting. Tonight's not good. I didn't push, just gave her space. The next day she'd always text back, like an apology without saying sorry. I learned to understand her, that she needed time to heal old wounds. I was patient, not because I'm some saint, but because I wanted to be there for her. ***. One night we walked back from a late dinner. Midtown was calm, the breeze cool, streetlights flickering on the sidewalk. We didn't hold hands, it wasn't necessary. She stopped suddenly, turning to me. You were right. I blinked, confused. About what? She smiled, her eyes soft. That first night, when you said I got your attention, I acted like I didn't care. But I noticed you the moment you held that door. I stayed quiet, letting her go on. I didn't believe someone like you could be genuine, could stay, without wanting something. But now I know who you are, and I'm not scared anymore. She took my hand, her fingers lacing through mine, gentle but firm. We didn't say more, just kept walking, our steps in sync. 3 months later I moved in with her, not because she asked, not to save money, but because it felt right. I started managing shifts at the coffee shop, getting steadier hours. Emily was still busy with work, but we always found time for each other. Real time, no showboating one. Sunday morning I woke up early, brewing coffee in her kitchen. Max trotted behind me, tail wagging. I brought the coffee to the bedroom, where Emily was sitting up, eyes half closed, hair a mess, sweater slipping off one shoulder. She looked at me, smiling. Still think I'm not in your league? I asked, handing her the mug. She took a sip, sighing like a weight had lifted. I think we dropped that game a while ago. I sat beside her and she leaned into me. You make my life quieter, she said, her voice small but sincere. I didn't reply, just smiled. We sat there, morning light flooding the room, Max, curled up by our feet. We didn't need to save each other, didn't need to change each other. We just saw each other, understood each other. And that was enough. Ryan and Emily's story isn't a perfect rom-com love story. It's a journey of two people learning to open up, face their fears, and find peace in each other. They didn't need grand promises or viral posts. They needed the truth that sometimes love isn't a big moment, but a collection of small ones, holding hands, morning coffees, quiet nods of understanding. It's when you dare to take a step forward, even a small one, and find someone stepping toward you too. This is Hidden Stories, where we share real stories, everyday moments packed with feeling, journeys that might change how you see life. Have you ever met someone who made you want to pause, to know them more, even just a little? Or built your own walls, waiting for someone patient enough to climb them? Share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe to Hidden Stories, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next tale. Every story is a piece of the puzzle, and we want you to be part of this journey. Let's uncover the hidden moments in life, starting now.